I want to welcome Jeff Magic. Jeff, welcome to Quantum Physiques.
Thank you very much, Brian. Welcome, everybody.
Now, Jeff, of course, this really is more than just going out and developing skills with meeting people of the opposite sex, or if you're gay, of course, meeting someone of the same sex. It really is about developing a set of skills, of social skills that you take with you everywhere. Isn't that not correct?
Absolutely.
Great. Now, of course, we have a co-ed audience, Jeff, so try to just keep that in mind when you structure your responses. But, tell us a little bit about your background and what got you into this, because, believe it or not, I really have met you. I've seen you on some of the shows here, and you're a good-looking guy. And so when you told me your story, it was really kind of an interesting story about where you came from and what you had to go through.
Yeah, well, basically it started, I have ADD, and people with ADD have a tendency to have trouble picking up on social skills because they're kind of in their own world. So I have an eccentric personality, so I was very much into Michael Jackson and just doing weird things for attention. And in like 7th grade, I started, let's put it this way. I won the most handsome award in 1st grade. And then I went into junior high school. I'll never forget this. I went into junior high school, and the first day all the girls thought I was really cute. And then I started dancing like Michael Jackson, and I was making all these noises. I was like, doing all this, singing and moonwalking and stuff. And because everybody tries to play too cool for school, especially at that age, I didn't fit in. So immediately I was a social outcast, and my social skills were probably that of a 3rd or 4th grader. So they would just say, "You're weird," and I would be like, if I saw the cool kids, I would just kind of walk the other way. I got picked on a lot and stuff like that. So then when I came around to be about 18, 17, I started working out and developing muscle. And I noticed I got a lot of attention and respect. Like, guys stopped picking on me. Girls were really throwing stuff. But again, because I didn't have social skills and I wasn't masculine, I looked for validation from everybody because I didn't have a father figure growing up. And my mom was dating, men that were alcoholics, and it was just a big mess. There was no role model for me on I had no model on how to become a man.
Good point.
So
sure.
I then became a stripper. I won a hot bodies contest. I became a stripper, and here I was now 24 and in dynamic shape. Everywhere I went, people stared at me, and I was dating fat girls. And what was really sickening about it for me was that I would go and do strip shows, and the girls would worship me, and they'd say, "You can have any girl you want. You can have any girl you want. You're so good looking." And I would actually say to them, "Actually, no, I can't." Every time I go to talk to girls that I'm attracted to, they don't want me. It's the girls that I'm not attracted to that do. And actually, because I was so handsome and in such good shape, that girls or women that were less attractive would reject me because they didn't feel qualified, because they were like, why would this good-looking guy want to go out with me? So not only was I getting rejected by attractive women, I was getting rejected by ugly women because I was overqualified.
It sounds like a movie. It sounds like a Steve Martin movie.
It was unbelievable, Brian. And I would get the validation. I was the type of guy that was good looking, but you hear women say it all the time. As soon as he opened his mouth, I would have had a better chance of not opening my mouth and just, taking them home. I would try to have sex with girls on the first date. I would walk right up to them and be like, "You're pretty. Do you have a boyfriend? Can I have your phone number?" Those were like the 3 things, and I'd have a very serious look on my face. That's exactly what I did, and I did that from 18. I didn't learn from my lessons. I did that from 18 to 33, that same exact pattern. Once in a while, I would be able to hold on to a pretty girl. I'm not saying I haven't had pretty girls, but most of them were heavyset or ugly, and people, you would see them, they would look at me. They would be like, "Why is this good-looking guy with this heavyset or ugly woman?" Like, they couldn't make the connection. And it was my self-esteem issue. I thought, my mom's a born-again Christian, I thought that she had actually put a curse on me, and that God didn't want me with an attractive woman. My entire life.
The power of Christ compels you. The power of Christ compels you.
Yeah. It's a lie from the pit of hell. It's about.
Okay, so let's skip to the part where you actually had the transformation. I guess then you went out and beschooled yourself, right?
Well, what happened was I read a book, Always Talk to Strangers. I was going, this was back in 2005, and the information that's available now on how to meet women and how to become an alpha male wasn't around really yet. And I read a book, Always Talk to Strangers, and he was a dating coach, and he was charging $10,000. His name is David Wygant. Wow. And he said, listen, man, I said, I'm a good-looking guy. I can't get girls. I don't understand. Every girl I like doesn't like me, and every girl I like doesn't like me, and every girl I don't like likes me. It's been the story of my life. She's like, look, you know what? There's a new book that just came out. Because I had been reading all these books, and I even read his book, and his book helped a little bit, but it wasn't enough. It was more about relationships and saying, what's the story behind that ring, all this other stuff. And it wasn't working. So I read the game, and this is a story for a lot of people. This book, blasted open the community. I mean, this is how it's evolved.
The game really was a best-selling book. That's right.
Yeah. And it broke down every single thing that I had been doing wrong. I had played, I tried to be their friends. I tried to buy them things. I would sing on the phone for them. I would do all kinds of things, and they were all weird. So I was goofy. I wasn't confident. I'd be on the date and be like, do you like me so far? What do you think of the date so far? So do you want to see me again? And trying to have sex with them on the first date. So basically, after reading this book, my mind was blown open. And I went, oh my God, I've been making every mistake that this book says not to make. And I was going against everything. It was counterintuitive. It was the elusive obvious. It was right in front of me, and I couldn't figure it out. I was not smart enough to figure it out.
So what did you do next then? What was the next step to overcome this?
Well, I read The Mystery Method.
Okay, The Mystery. He's got a show on TV. That's right, yeah.
But I was onto this stuff before the VH1 show came out. Okay, so
did you pay that guy $10,000?
What's that?
Did you pay that coach $10,000?
No, I never took a boot camp or anything like that. I bought the book and CDs, and I just read. I taught it myself. It took me 3.5 years to change all my self-limiting beliefs, and actually become a man. I had no idea I was a boy man. I was a boy man, and I was also insecure. And I'd gotten beaten up a lot when I was younger. That's when I started bodybuilding. But even underneath that, I was still fearful of men. So I started training with Matt Serra, and I started doing Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And that is what, between reading and studying this stuff, I believe every man should know how to fight. Every man should train for strength. And every man, if he doesn't know and he's not confident enough to go and walk up to people, whether it's men or women, should learn how to fight, should learn how to get their social skills together, and learn how to just be comfortable in their own skin and be a man. Because once you develop your confidence and your social muscles, which turn out to be your social skills, you can just, these natural traits that are in the game and all this information just naturally come out. I'll give you a perfect example. Will Smith is the definition of cool. This is the definition of cool. It's lukewarm. You're not too hot. You're not too cold. If you're hanging out with a bunch of geeks, you're okay with that. If you're hanging out with squares, you're okay with that. If you're hanging out with guys that are, fake confronting, you're okay with that because you're comfortable in your own skin. You're not judging people. And, it's kind of like Bill Clinton. Bill Clinton was a cool president, and there's more reasons than that why I think he's cool, but I won't talk about that on the show.
Well, he had charisma, though. I mean, that's, again, part of being alpha.
Oh, he had charisma. He had a lot of charisma.
Because a lot of guys that come from our background, which, again, most men don't have a lot of self-esteem. We have, the male role model in society oftentimes is not really strong enough for us to have any sense of identity. So we have to build it ourselves. So a lot of us get into the wrong things, and sometimes it's fighting and bodybuilding or whatever you want to call it. But, through that process, though, you've been humbled. And I kind of find that because you're a very humbled kind of guy, actually. I mean, I think, on some of these shows, maybe people misinterpret you, but you're a very lovable guy. I think you reveal a part of your heart, and this is what the show is about here, because now I always say to people in the show is that, like Jesus and Lao Tzu and the Buddha always talk about letting go of your ego. Lao Tzu writes, for example, know the personal, but stick to the impersonal. And of course, this means, in this sense, never take rejection personally. Isn't that part of being humble, is letting go of your ego? Because really, when you do that, you're more empowered. Is that not correct?
Yes, you're more empowered, and you're more empowered by people, because when you let go of your ego and you drop and you show your vulnerabilities, that lets other people drop their social personas that we put on when we go out into society. If you're real with people first, most people will feel comfortable and drop their guard and be real with you. And, you know, we all are born without sexual identities, and we have to learn how to develop them. And most men that are naturals and that are good with women, which is about 5 to 10%, and the 20% that are confident all around except for in the area of women, had strong fathers. They had strong father figures. So there's an area, this is something that I find very interesting with women and men that are confident but aren't good, and only the 5% that are good naturally because they're just uber naturals, like some people are just naturally good at fighting or surfing or whatever, is that you can take a man that's confident. He's, you know, somebody like, let's say, Donald Trump. He's got his whole life together. You put him in front of a hot woman, and his confidence crumbles. He starts talking about how much money he makes. He's you know, qualifying himself to her. And this is an area that really has to be worked on. And a lot of this goes back to that we're not really wired as human beings to really get to know strangers, because we never had to do it up until 100 years ago.
Good point. Exactly. It comes back to our tribalistic roots. Exactly, buddy.
We're not wired. We're not really that well wired to meet people, especially the opposite sex. The reason why that like 85 to 90% of people, I guarantee you, anybody listening to the show, male or female, that most of the people have met each other in their social circles, meaning either through a friend, work, school, someone who knows somebody in the family.
Exactly.
And then you have your anomalies where they met at a bar or they met on online dating. But we're not wired for that. So when you go to try to speak to a woman on the street, our nervous systems go, alert, alert, alert. The women are worried about being raped, killed, whatever. And the men are worried about somebody smashing, you know, a stone over their head, because that would be what would happen. Now, if you got rejected, the reason there's a couple reasons there's such fear behind approaching women. It's not only the pressure of other people laughing, which doesn't matter today, but it did when we were in tribal communities. Because if everybody laughed at you, and let's say there were only 4 girls that were pretty enough and young enough to be your mate, if you went up to the girl, one of the girls in the tribes, and you tried to ask her out, and she rejected you, the other 3 girls, because that one girl rejected you, would not go for you because that would lower her social value within that tribe.
Exactly.
So not only that, but we didn't have TV, we didn't have this, that. People for weeks on end would gossip about, ha, 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 he got rejected. So that stays in our brain. We're outdated machines. I go into a Starbucks now, anywhere you go. There's 7 million people on Long Island alone. I walk into a Starbucks, and I blow it, okay? And I've blown it a million times when I was practicing. And everybody laughs, and the girl, you know, says, you know, get away from me, you're a weirdo. The second I walk out of that Starbucks, I can go down the street or down, you know, a couple miles, go down to the next Starbucks, do it right.
Try again. Yeah.
And I'm fine. I don't have a reputation. The only way that this applies still is in very small towns in the Midwest and stuff like that. People are very careful. It's like in high school. If you remember in high school, if you messed up in high school, how quick did it spread that you did something wrong or that you were this or you were that? It doesn't matter when you're in a large, you know, context like this where we're on Long Island with this, you know, millions of people. There's nothing to worry about.
Sure. No, it makes a lot of sense, actually. You know, since we have a largely male audience here on the website, and a lot of them are younger and tend to be single or are going through the trials and tribulations of relationship, of serial monogamy, right, which is really what it is, inevitably, these are skills that even somebody in a relationship would want to have because, again, like I said, these are empowering skills. So, you know, with the phenomena of approach anxiety, which, again, is the same thing as walking into an interview and not having sweaty palms, giving that guy a firm handshake, and stepping up and showing him that you're ready to take over this job, there is that same phenomenon of approach anxiety. So it's a really great metaphor for life in general. How do you deal with your customers or your, I guess, clients that come to you and want to be coached with approach anxiety?
All right. Well, let me tell you something before I address that. You go into a bar or a club. Everybody thinks going later is better. I walk into a club or a bar at 9 o'clock. I go there before everybody's consumed alcohol. If you go to a bar, anybody that's listening to this, go to a bar at 9 o'clock. Watch how the men and the women are all huddled in their own circles. The women their states have not been elevated yet, meaning they're not confident yet. Everybody's worried about everyone. It's called the spotlight theory. We all worry about what everybody else thinks of us. Meanwhile, we don't realize that everybody else is worried about the same thing. Nobody really cares.
Cares, exactly,
now, what happens, as night goes on, alcohol actually allows you to, after like 2 or 3 beers, allows you to be yourself. It's a social lubricant. So as that happens, you'll notice that the energy and the guys will start approaching the women, and the women will start getting their egos, because they go there to get their egos validated, almost like going there with an empty cup. And the more that the music gets louder and the more they drink and the more guys come up to them, the more their egos get pumped up and the more power they feel. If I want to build a connection with a woman or women at a bar, I'll go there while all the men are still afraid and not in state, meaning not confident yet because they haven't drank enough. They're sitting there pounding down beers to get up the courage to start talking to the girls. So while everyone's still in their little circles, like the group of girls that came out, the 3 girls over here, the 3 girls over there, the 5 guys in the corner over there, I'll go and I'll walk right in and I'll just be like, hey, what's going on? Are you guys over here male bashing? What are you laughing about? I just saw you bust out into a big laugh. What's going on? And then, boom, I'll just go right into, I'll make a witty observation or I'll just start talking. I don't even need to use an opener. I'll just, whatever comes to mind. And they're amazed because they know that the social pressure, they know everybody is listening, they can hear me. It's just like you can't wear a cowboy hat I guarantee you most people that are listening to this can't walk into a bar and wear a cowboy hat. Why? Because there's social pressure. If I walk in with a cowboy hat and I'm totally like relaxed, joking around, laughing, walking up to people talking, that subconsciously tells all the females and males in the room that I'm a threat to the males and I'm an attractor to the females, because the females know I'm used to taking the social pressure and not caring, and I'm confident enough to walk in. But is anybody afraid to wear a baseball cap? No. Why? Because everybody does it. We are afraid. We're mostly herd mentality. We want to fit in. An alpha male doesn't care. And as far as addressing your question, as far as how would I train somebody to get over this? Well, look, I mean, if you wanted to ask a girl, let's say you're walking down the street and you see a woman that's, exactly your type. You're walking down the street and, you want to find out where McDonald's is. Well, if you don't have an agenda and you've never studied this stuff and you're not trying to pick her up, you have a girlfriend or whatever, you go, excuse me, where's McDonald's? Is there a McDonald's around here? I heard there's one within walking distance of here. And she'd be like, yeah, it's right over there. But now let me change it. Let me change the frame on that. Now let me say that I'm coaching you, and I say to you, listen, go walk up to that girl and ask where McDonald's is. All of a sudden you're in your head. You're going, oh my God, what if she thinks I'm weird? I can't just approach her. She's strange. But that's because it's outcome dependency. He knows that he's in his head. Now, once you become confident, it doesn't matter because you don't care what other people think of you. And that's the whole point of this whole thing. So how I do it is I progressively desensitize, like all of the dating coaches know. A lot of this is cognitive behavioral therapy, really. That's the baseline root of most of this stuff. And what you do is you may start out with just I may just start out with telling people that I coach, just go ask where McDonald's is. Just go and ask where Starbucks is. Then I'll say, all right, listen, go talk to old women. They were young and pretty once. Go talk to them. And they remember what it was like. Now, they'll be much, much more receptive to talking to you because they're older. They don't get the attention. They enjoy it. Or go practice on women that work at, cashiers, girls that work at clothing stores. They're paid. They have to be friendly to you. So you can start with conversations there. A lot of times I'll say, hey, look, just go up and say, can you help me find some jeans? Now, them knowing that they're doing that to practice will make them nervous in and of itself. It's almost like this. Another thing that I've done actually as an experiment is I've asked people, and most people say no. If you would be at a stoplight and you saw an old couple on your right-hand side and your left-hand side at a light, would you be embarrassed to pick your nose? Would you care what those people, the older couples, let's say there were 4 older women in the car.
Of course not. Of course not. Yeah.
What if they were 20? Yes, you would. Why? Why, Brian?
I would guess the reason is because I look at those women and instinctively I look at them as having higher value, and so I want to impress them in some way. It's just an instinctual reaction, I guess, right?
That is correct. And okay. you're putting weight on it. Your nervous system, your whole reptilian brain knows that that's
yes.
a demonstration of low value. They have there's no mating opportunity there, so there's no weight on you picking your nose. But your brain, you picking your nose in front of those girls, even though you're not going to be saying anything to them, just the fact that they're laughing in your mind, you're still in the tribe. You're still in
yes.
the tribe.
Jeff, this is what I like about you. You really get this because there is so much of what we do. Like I said before you came on the show, we're just wind-up dolls. We're just really playing out these programs. Like, for example, last time was the Oscars. People have no idea. Why do people look at these people as demigods? And the reason is, of course, it goes back to evolutionary psychology, because way back when we had these tribal systems, the alpha male or the king and the queen, they were treated like celebrities. So we looked at them with a word called deference, right? And of course then, as societies grew larger and larger, we didn't necessarily know the king and queen anymore, but we still looked at them as celebrity or with deference. And so that's why these idiots out there in Hollywood that are a bunch of losers, really, all of them, a lot of them, we still give them, like, look at Kim Kardashian. It's pathetic.
I cannot believe you just said that, Brian. Oh my God.
This is an example. I mean, it's like...
You're bugging me out because David Wygant, I was actually reading a news article that I subscribed to from him. I swear to God, I was going to bring it up. And you beat me to it by a second. He said, I would never date Kim Kardashian. And he said, you know why? Because of my values. He saw a show of her, and I agree with him. I wouldn't either. She is very superficial. She's not a woman. She's really a girl in a woman's body. Totally. And she has no depth to her. So in that sense,
so true.
There wouldn't be any connection. And I went through this transitional phase, and this is what happens when you go on a journey of, personal transformation and development and self-actualization, is that you start off with, desperation and wanting attractive women. So I went through the stage of wanting all these women and placing all this higher value on girls that were good looking. And what happened was I started to date one after another, and I started thinking, you know what? They poop, they fart, they pick their noses. I started asking girls that I was dating or friends and stuff, and said, be honest. They all will tell you that they use a tissue. Guess what? They use their pinky because their other nails is too long. Okay? You're talking to them. They're holding in gas. There's times when you've been talking to girls and they got to fart. They're holding in that gas at that moment. As God forbid she did that, that would be a demonstration of lower value. Women want us to think they don't poop. And you know what? I got to be honest. When I was in 7th grade, I thought they, crapped flowers, because they looked so pretty. I mean, picture not Cindy Crawford. Picture Julia Roberts in Pretty Woman when she was wearing that dress and the white gloves and what's his name? Richie Gere snaps the box on her and she giggles. I mean, can you picture her? Having the taco shits and making all these noises and then coming out looking beautiful. You just don't match the two. But if you can get it in your mind and look at all the disgusting things that you do, they do. I mean, they have noses like us, they have butts like us, they have fingers like us. So think about all the things that you do, all the stinky things you do. You go to wipe your butt, oops, it's on my hand. If you think of all those things and you break that down and you don't fall into this facade of seeing them as goddesses, if you break them down into human beings are recognized and you could see past the social facade, they want you to see them as this higher. They spend hours in the bathroom just getting ready to look pretty, to attract men. And
yes. Then the whole beauty industry really is geared. I mean, women typically often deny this. I mean, I've heard a lot of my friends say, I want to look good for myself. And I'm like, well, hang on a second. If you are on a desert island with no chance of being rescued, would you really care about your cellulite or about your wrinkles? And they pause and they go, you know what? You're right. I really wouldn't care. So they kind of get it then. People don't get this stuff because it's kind of deep. The truth is, dude, as you probably agree, we define our existence in the context of our social society. Kim Kardashian is who she is precisely because she's shallow enough to be that kind of just a superficial image, because any girl with any kind of brains or substance would never lower herself to that kind of position in life. So it's a really good example of how who you think of as you, Jeff, as you know, is just an illusion. It's really it's an artificial construct of the group.
What you're saying, what you just said before about why women put on makeup, if they were on an island or whatever, women put on makeup for three reasons, and I've caught them on this. Okay, just like they say that they go out to just dance, they're not going out to just dance whether they have boyfriends or not. They have an unconscious replication agenda that forces them, especially in their teens and 20s. That's why people in their 20s go out more, because usually our ancestors usually had mates, and that's why our drive to go out and listen to loud music and pick up chicks dies when we get into our 30s, and really starts to die as you get into your mid and late 30s. You're like, I just can't deal with the BS anymore, and the games. You get tired of them. But women put on makeup for three reasons. One, to compete with other women. Two, to make themselves attractive enough for guys to hit on them. And the third one is something that I forgot.
Okay.
But they do it to compete with other women, to make themselves have a higher self-esteem in that moment, and to attract as much men as they possibly can so they have options in men. I mean, if you looked at a woman without lipstick and eyeliner, there's a huge difference. And if you look at these magazines now, it's distorting women's minds beyond compare. And now, and since the 80s, they've been doing it with men, with bodybuilding and all this other stuff. Back in the 70s, we wore mustaches, long hair, we didn't care. Now it's more of a metrosexual society, and they're putting pressure on men to look as good and pretty up the two. But what's happening is, if you look at magazines, you'll see that these women have this aloof type of, I'm better than you look. And they're almost like, you can't touch me. You can look at me, feel free to entertain me, but I'm higher status than you. And they have these looks, like these poses with these pouched lips, and, their chin and their nose is pointed up in these pictures, and it's body language that they use. And it's
so biological. You're so right, buddy.
Wake up in the morning with them when, they're going to the bathroom and they have all the makeup off, and they're not so pretty, and their push-up bras are this, and they got a little cellulite walking around, but they're wearing the pants when they're going out of the skirt, or there's the shoes that make their, the high heels that make their butts protrude, and they stick them out consciously and unconsciously, and it also makes their calf muscles look more muscular, and, they pouch their breasts out. Just like when guys go out, the ones that are insecure will puff their chests out. We'll literally cause their chest to look bigger so that we look more intimidating and more masculine to the women. So the thing is about men and women and attracting women and women attracting men is this. The polarities have to be opposites. And what I mean by that, I'm not sure if I'm using it in the right context, but I'll explain it to you in layman's terms, is the more masculine the man, the more feminine the woman has to be. The more feminine the woman is, the more she's attracted to a masculine man. That's why you'll see very, very dainty, beautiful women dating guys in high school and college that are very nice and sweet and have good manners and, dress great, with these thugs or these guys that are always getting in fights and in and out of jail or beating them up. I mean, it's, what David D'Angelo, whose real name is Evan Pagan, said and came up with, attraction isn't a choice.
That's right.
It's basically, if you go into a conversation, if you walk up to a woman and you go into a conversation with her and she doesn't like what she's hearing you say, how you dress, your nonverbals, there's nothing you can do to attract her. No amount of money, no amount of
good looks even, right? Even good looks doesn't matter. Women are much more sophisticated in their filtration system, aren't they?
Women are superior to us.
They are.
They're superior. They're superior in
Hail women. Hail women.
Better hearing. They have better eyesight. Their peripheral vision is like twice what we have. The reason why women go to the bathroom in groups is because in Bible times they had to go in the woods. So they would go in groups. They wouldn't get killed. Now, if men go to the bathroom in groups, they look like homos, or they're going in the bathroom to do
like a circle jerk. Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't go to Penn State and go to the bathroom. That's for damn sure.
Yeah.
Wherever that was.
But this is the truth. And, it's unfortunate that people don't understand why, we're having to learn to be men. And a lot of it has to do with we didn't have the right, there's so much pressure in society. People are turning into alcoholics, and they have no father figures. So we're having to take, an artificial way of turning on the man circuits. And once you become alpha and you're comfortable in your own body, you can just naturally be cool just by being you, just being yourself, being real, not being afraid to be silly and goofy like you are once you've downed 2 or 3 or 4 beers. If you were to keep alcohol out of bars and clubs, you would see a very strange environment. And I'll tell you what, pretty women are actually, this is something I want to expose to everybody here that doesn't know it, that's listening. And then you can direct me as to what else you'd like to talk about.
Sure.
Pretty women are actually easier to... I don't like the word pickup. It's like, what am I going to pick you up over my back?
To me, yeah.
I use pickup. Pickup is just a male terminology for flirting. Okay,
yeah.
But it's got a negative connotation to it, so I don't use it. But if you are to flirt with an attractive woman and you know how to do it competently and you pass her confidence tests, which are also known as shit tests, and she's like, oh, what's with those shoes or whatever? I'm like, what are you talking about? These are the coolest badass shoes I've ever had in my life, man. Everybody should be wearing these. I mean, come on now, your taste is terrible. And okay, I just passed the confidence test. I didn't qualify myself to her. And then I start joking around with her, whatever. And I'm just totally joking around. I'm teasing her. We're having regular conversations. I'm saying, so what nationality? She's telling me she's Greek. I'm like, oh, wow, have you ever been to Greece before? She's like, no, but I've been to Italy. I'm like, oh, wow, I'm Italian. I was like, I always wanted to go there because, the cobblestones and, like, the villages and stuff, and, it's my native country. And we're in a conversation. We're just joking around. And then I'm like, hold on, you got a little something over here by your nose. Or you say something stupid like, I really like your eyes, especially the left one. And he's joking around, she's laughing. What this girl is saying to herself is, oh my God, a guy that can finally be himself around me. He hasn't mentioned that I'm pretty. He hasn't put me on a pedestal. I've thrown cocky, sarcastic remarks at him, and he doesn't care. Girls love it when we give them attitude. We hate it when they give us attitude. And what the problem is, why girls are easier to, really super, super attractive women are so much easier to pick up or to flirt with, get their number and go out with and date, is because most guys act super, super, super weird around attractive women. They talk about their money. They talk about, if they have muscles, they'll flex or pull up their shirt and show their abs. And they just qualify themselves. They tell them they'll buy them cars. I mean, I knew a guy that was friends with her and with this girl, and he bought her car just so that he, when he got drunk, because she didn't have a car, she would take him home and he could drink. Now, indirectly, he was doing that to try to, eventually date her. Like most guys, they call them orbiters in the community, which I'm referring to as a group of men that, study this stuff on a regular basis on how to attract women. But that's not the way to go. So if you could just be yourself and not be weird around attractive women, they're drawn to you. So the guys that are ugly or that are average looking, you rationalize it for your own self-esteem and ego. Oh, he has money. No, he's got confidence. He's got a swagger. It's the swagger that women are attracted to. Yeah. That's what it's about. Like Bruce Willis isn't classically handsome. Okay, Tom Cruise is, Brad Pitt is, but Bruce Willis has a swagger. He's cocky. He's funny. He's just got to go, no bullshit, straight to the point. He'll call girls on their bullshit. And that's another thing that women that are of beauty love, to be called out on their bullshit. Not being manipulated with flowers and gifts. When they say they want all that stuff, they want that in the second phase. There's a guy named Peyton Kane that I've studied under, and he says that there's 3 phases. The first phase is when you meet the girl. That's when you're cocky, you joke around, you bust their balls, you tease them. The second phase is after you have sex. That's when you can tell them that they're attractive and that, you really like them a lot and stuff like that. the third phase is when you're in a deep relationship. You can, totally be yourself. But women are always going to test your confidence. That's why they'll start fights with you for no reason. They want to see that you're going to come back and you're going to say, no, this is what we're doing. Because what winds up happening is, if you haven't noticed, most women by nature are more controlling than men. And a lot of women try to take control of the relationship. And in the moment they seem angry when you go against them, but it secretly turns them on. I actually had my girlfriend, she was in a cranky mood, and she didn't want to, be intimate with me that night. And she's like, I'm not in the mood. I'm da-da-da-da. So what I did was, I actually said, come here. She was in our bathroom. I said, come here. She was sitting in the kitchen. I said, come over here. I grabbed her hand. I brought her in the room. I threw her down on the bed. I held her hands up, above her head. I held her down, and I said, tell me you want me right now, and that you're going to love every moment of it. And she smiled, she started giggling, and we had some seriously good sex. It was that dominance, that male dominance, that turned her on. If I had let her stay in that mood, Brian, and I said, oh, but why not? Like, logically reasoning with her. Women respond to their emotional states, not what you try to logically, persuade them to do. If I had sat there and been like, oh, come on, I haven't had sex in a while, I'm really horny, and da-da-da-da-da, she would have stayed in that mood. The fact that I hit some reptilian circuit in her brain of dominance, which turns them on. It's like our dominance turns us on as much. This is the bottom line. I'm going to wrap it up with this, and then you can ask me what you want or talk about whatever. Masculinity and being alpha and being like Bill Clinton or Bruce Willis or having a swagger and being confident is exactly like this. If you met a woman, you'll notice women in sports like volleyball, swimmers, runners, most of the women have square shoulders and no hips. The reason they're in more aggressive sports and women fighting, you'll notice, no hips and square shoulders, usually not big breasts. They genetically have higher testosterone levels. They're more masculine. Sure. And this is the deal. If you meet a woman, if you're an alpha male and you're masculine, okay, like I said before, women want, the more feminine she is, the more she'll be attracted to you if you're masculine. You have to make sure, it would be like this. If you met a woman and she was a beautiful woman, but she had a deep voice, I don't even have to ask you the question. You wouldn't be attracted to her. Just because of her deep voice. So it's like Mike Tyson, right? You would think he would have a really deep voice. If he wasn't Mike Tyson, do you know how many problems he would have trying to attract women? So we're attracted to very, very feminine women because, number one, it's completely the opposite of what we are. And number two, the more feminine they are and the bigger their hip-to-waist ratio is, the more that tells us that they're fertile.
Sure.
And I could go on and on, but I want to let you steer it a little bit, because if there's questions that you want me to answer about for women or go in a different direction.
One thing that you and I both agree on that I think is very interesting is just how much of what we take for granted in our lives is really going on subconsciously. Like, for example, attraction isn't a choice. Famous line by Eben Pagan. What happens, of course, is that two people meet, and their unconscious programs register these cues, the data coming in, and then, of course, it filters up into their conscious mind, and the ego weaves a story, making them think, you're picking this person for this reason, this reason. It's all bullshit, because really it's happening unconsciously. They've done studies where they've had women just smell men's sweaters, and then they've had the same men in a large party, and the women invariably picked the same sweater. They ended up finding the guy with the same pheromones attractive. Now, they said, well, I like him because he's a lawyer, he makes money, or whatever. It's all bullshit. It's all happening unconsciously, and the conscious mind, of course, then is weaving a story. So with that said, there is this idea of having deep inner game, of really, this is what the show's dedicated to, Jeff, is really going inside and not trying to build bigger muscles or having a bigger wallet, which are all good things, but having a sense of resilience or a sense of core integrity that can't be taken away no matter the circumstance. It's almost like Spartacus in the arena. That guy...
You have to be unshakable. You have to have bulletproof confidence. You have to be firmly rooted.
Tony Robbins talks about. So maybe can you just spend a couple of minutes talking about, some tips you'd recommend for people getting that deep inner game, as it's called?
Yes, but I'm going to say one thing that is something that a lot of people aren't aware of, and you touched on it for a second about the sweaters and smelling. There are, and I don't know if you've experienced it, but I have, and I'm sure a lot of our listeners have as well, and there's a reason for it, and I'm going to explain it to you right now. As far as smell goes, we have there's so many, you and I could talk for hours if we had to break everything down onto why we're attracted. Just like I said, if you spoke to a woman and everything that you said she didn't like, she wouldn't be attracted to you. But if she spoke to you and everything that you said she did like, she would not be able to help but be attracted to you. It's like if I said to you, Brian, don't think Cindy Crawford's hot. You can't go push a button and go, I don't think she's hot, I don't want to have sex with her just because you decide to. It's not a conscious choice. You're either attracted or you're not. Yes. So what you were saying about the smell is another thing. There's another issue. We are not attracted, as far as pheromones and stuff, there's another thing. It's our immune systems. We are not attracted to people that have immune systems that are similar to ours.
Yes,
we're attracted to people that have the more opposite their immune system is to us, the better it is. And the stronger your immune system is, the more the women who have the opposite immune system of yours are going to be attracted to you. So that's why
sometimes that's a great point. The show is so dedicated to being healthy, man. I love that point.
If you go to kiss somebody, have you ever gone to kiss a girl and it felt like incest, or the taste of her saliva has been wrong repeatedly, or you went to have sex and it just didn't feel right, or she didn't smell right down there, whatever, you're not meant to mate. I have met girls, okay, and I'll tell you this, my girlfriend, I smell her ears, they're like roses. I smell her hair, unconditioned, unwashed for 2-3 days, whatever. I am so attracted to it, it's unbelievable. And it has to do with, like, we were meant to mate. You'll even be with a woman that you're supposed to be with. If you're meant to mate, you will actually come at the same time. You'll orgasm at the same time. And that will help for her to become impregnated. There's so much to do with smell. But as far as do you want me to go into having more of a rock solid foundation as far as what? With women?
Well,
with what?
You hit upon it earlier in the show because I think you got a good point. I really believe in like the paleo, getting back to our roots, and that your emotional centeredness and your sense of being alpha is really intrinsic to doing things that come natural. Like we were meant to forage. We're meant to get out in the woods and exercise. So maybe going to the gym if you can't get out in the woods. We're meant to to fight, as an example, too. I think a lot of guys can build confidence by learning how to defend themselves, as an example. It's just one more shield they can put up. So, just maybe share a few things about the journey inward.
Well, I'll tell you this. We all have inner turmoil. Okay, until you kill these inner turmoils, when you meet a woman, you have your lust exposed, you have your vanity exposed, you have you have all these types of insecurities that are running through your head. Is she going to like me? If you're not wearing the right clothes, you might not be as confident. You have all these inner turmoils going on to you inside your head. And if you're thinking about those things, you can't listen to the woman speaking to you. So therefore, you're thinking as she's talking about, okay, what am I going to say next? What am I going to say next? So you don't have the faculties to your brain to your social muscles to be able to listen and respond to what she says. So like if the girl says to me, I have a cat and the cat went to the bathroom on the mat. She just gave me 2 things to talk about. Oh, you have a cat? Oh, that's so funny. I have 2 cats. One is Sarah and one is Merritt. And it's really cool. He does tricks. I told him to sit, lay down, roll over. She talks about a mat. Like you reminded me of Matt. What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs? Bob. What do you call a guy with no arms and no legs? Matt. I just threw out 2 things there. But as far as getting rid of killing our inner turmoils, you first have to mask them. You have to mask them, and then you have to kill them. And until you kill them all, okay, and what I mean by masking them is going out and doing your approaches. So if you have trouble and you want to meet women, or if there's women that want to meet men and be more aggressive, which there's nothing wrong with it if you do it in a feminine way. But if you want to kill your inner turmoils socially, and get your social muscles stronger, you can't just read about it. You have to actually go out and do it. And you have to kill those inner turmoils. And how you do that is by going up to people, going up to men, going up to women, and just starting off with, hi, how you doing? Okay, you do that for a little while. Then maybe you do an opinion opener. Oh, hey, I had my friend and I were talking about, I don't know what nationality I look. I mean, do I look Scandinavian? Some people think I look Irish. What would you say? I'm trying to figure it out. And whoever, tells me the most, I guess that's what I look like. Or I'm going for a commercial audition. How old do I look to you? Anywhere from 30 to 40. What's the age that you would think that I am? Okay, so you practice that for a while. And then after that, you go on into the conversation. Now, while you're in that interaction, you may be trembling inside, and I know I was for a long time, because I was actually exposing myself to vulnerability. See, what guys do is they go overboard, they go bravado. See, they could be like, they're not putting their true self on the line. When these guys walk up to girls, they're like, yo, how you doing? They're pimping it out. They're putting on a pimple. Yo, what's up? How you doing? Yeah, blah, blah, blah. So that way, if they get blown off, they haven't been in their true selves. They can go, oh, she blew me off because I put on my fake self. It's not my true me. When you drop your ego, you are actually building up core strength little by little by going out and risking it, putting your real self on the line and saying, you know what, I'm just going to walk up to this person and say, I'm going to ask them, how old do I look? And I'm going to be real about it. And then you're going to go in and you're going to say, or what nationality am I? And you're going to be real about it. And then you're going to go, that's interesting. You're going to push yourself through that fear. You're going to mask your fear. You could be trembling inside, but you're going to try to hold it together. And then you're going to have a conversation with this person. And even if you mess it up 1,000 times, you will slowly desensitize yourself to the point, and you will build your social muscles just like bodybuilding. You will get stronger and stronger, and the neural pathways in your brain will get to the point where you can go on any topic. I mean, I do an exercise with my guys, and I'll say a word to them, and I'll have them go off on it. And a lot of them stumble at first. Like, give me a word. This is one of the best ways to develop conversational skills.
You want me to give you a word right now?
Give me nothing too complex, layman. Keep it simple. Give me a word.
Cracker.
My girlfriend actually has. It's funny that you mentioned crackers, Brian. My girlfriend and I were just talking on the phone tonight, and she has. She actually has low blood pressure, and she's like, I gotta load up on
crackers.
I gotta load up on salt. And so she's going out actually tonight. Ironically, again, you beat me to something else before. She's actually loading up on crackers tonight because she has low blood sugar, blood pressure, and it helps it to rise. Boom. One more.
Spaghetti.
Oh, that's funny. I actually, I used to eat spaghetti like every day. And I found out one time when I was 16 that if you put spaghetti sauce and you put butter in it, and you mix the butter and the spaghetti sauce together, it tastes so much better. I don't know. Have you ever done that?
Yeah, I have actually. It's pretty good. I like it with a little bit of garlic too. So I get your point. The point is to develop the ability to quickly take a word and think of something meaningful to talk about around it.
And then this is the biggest thing. What you do is, a lot of people are against routines. So we all have routines, okay? So people put a negative connotation on it. It's all about the way you frame it, Here's the deal. A girl has a routine. Her routine is, hi, what's your name, where you're from, what? Actually, let me stop. That's more of a guy's routine. Now, that's a routine. That's the only routine he knows. Hi, how you doing? Where you from? Oh, that's cool. Are you having fun tonight? Oh, are you going to school for anything? And her routine that she's playing is answering all these questions and telling her her job. That's boring to her. So as a social skill builder, you take routines. I don't take fake routines. There are fake routines out there. What you do is I have people write down in bullet points the time I sat on a piece of pizza, the time I went to Great Adventure, the time I went to the laundromat and all my clothes were ruined. And if they learn 5 stories, guys that are really good socially tell the same stories over and over again. And if you learn like 5 or 6 different, even for like, let's say Starbucks, and you just adapt it to McDonald's when you're there, and you're in front, there's a girl in front of you. Oh, what are you drinking? Oh, espresso, I find the espresso here to be really bitter, but it's like rocket fuel. I mean, I would inject it if I could. And boom, you have a conversation, you're in that, the girl laughs, whatever. But what it's about is just learning 5 good stories. Like I tell guys, if they're on the phone and they're going to blank out, keep 5 conversational bullet point topics in front of you. So if you're blanking out, all of a sudden you just can't think of anything to say, you have Great Adventure in front of you. And you go, you know what, let me ask you a question. Have you ever been to Great Adventure? And what this is doing, again, is laying down neural trackways in your brain and building your conversational muscles to the point, it's almost like improv class, to the point where you get so good at that and so fluent that you actually become a talking machine. I mean, you could throw anything at me, and I'll throw it back at you. I mean, just having those things, in case you blank out, for some reason your self-confidence is off, you're having a bad day, you didn't get enough sleep, you have those conversations in your head already down. Everybody has routines. It's just that most routines are boring. To stick out from the average guy is not that hard. It's just about spicing it up. I mean, there are tools. There's role-playing, there's sexual misinterpretation, there's cold reads, and, just having a few tools in your belt and learning a few stories will separate you from the hordes of guys that are going and saying the same thing over again. Hi, what's your name? Where are you from? Oh, that's cool. You're very pretty. Do you come here a lot? They're sick of it. And spicing it up with funny stuff. A guy comes over and tries to tool you, you learn a few comebacks. One of mine, guy goes over, one time I was flexing when I was younger and stupid, and he's like, oh, you're flexing your muscles, huh? Let me see, flex your arms for me, flex your arms for me. And if by me flexing my arms to him, I would be qualifying himself. What I would say now is, listen, you're really cute, but I only date black or Korean men, I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly.
Boom. I've blown him out. Now he's shut down. Most guys, that's the test. He's trying to put me in a role. He's trying to get me to qualify. He's expecting me to bait him myself, and I'm not falling into his frame. And these are the things that people have to do. They have to learn stories, tell them over and over again, so that if they're blanking out on the phone, they can build their social muscles, and eventually they'll be able to run free with it.
Yeah, no, sounds good. Hey, Jeff, we're out of time, man. If anybody wants to connect with you, because I do think you're a phenomenal coach, way beyond just developing dating skills, but I think even, like you said, developing deeper in the game and stuff, how can they reach you, buddy?
They can reach me at LearnDatingMagic.com. That's LearnDatingMagic.com, or they can call me at 631-258-8595. Again, 631-258-8595. I'm actually, Brian, just so you know, I'm a little upset that we're out of time already because I didn't really get to touch on the deeper aspects on how to build, solid rock confidence. But go out and socialize. Talk to everybody. Start it off with baby steps. Just say hi to people if that's all you can do. And try to maintain eye contact with women. You'll find it's very hard to do. And go from there.
That's awesome, buddy. No, we got to get you on with part 2. I think you have a lot of really good social building skills that people, men and women both, really need to understand, from a handshake to the way you position your body when you're conversing with somebody to the eye contact you maintain. These are all subtle cues. As you know, nonverbal communication is most of the communication we do, and it really does say a lot about who we are. So we'll have to get you back on, buddy, for sure.
It says almost everything, like 90%, and women are they're 10 times better at reading it than we are. It's ridiculous.
Yes, exactly. So once again, that website is LearnDatingMagic.com to learn more about Jeff and to get on his list, or email him or contact him about maybe one-on-one coaching or something like that. LearnDatingMagic.com. I just want to thank you once again for tuning in.
I do phone coaching. If you're in another state or something, I do phone coaching as well. And guys, so you know, don't feel funny about calling. I know it feels like you're not a man and that you should be able to learn this stuff on your own. Let me tell you something. By going through a dating coach, you can keep it a secret if you have to for the time being. You will be so far ahead of your friends, and you will have so many girls you won't know what to do with. And you're the one that's actually going to win. Your friend will snicker in the beginning, but you'll be the one that wins at the end when you have 6 girls on and you have too many dates and you don't know what to do with.
Okay, buddy, we got to go, man. We will definitely get you on very soon. Once again, thanks for tuning in.